Have you ever noticed how some abuse survivors seem to disappear from the world, retreating into their own bubble? Here is why. Isolation is one of the most misunderstood behaviors of abuse survivors. What might look like withdrawal or antisocial behavior is often a sign of deeper pain and a struggle to find safety. In this video, I'll share the hidden reasons why abuse survivors isolate themselves, the long-term dangers of isolation, and how to break the cycle and reconnect with the world. Isolation goes beyond simply enjoying alone time. It can manifest as avoiding friends and family, canceling plans, withdrawing from hobbies, and spending long periods of time in solitude. For survivors, isolation is often less about wanting to be alone and more about feeling that they have no other choice. Sometimes, isolation feels like joining the world's least fun stay-at-home club. The only perk? You always get to choose the Netflix show, but even that gets old after a while.
Sometimes it feels like I'm watching life happen from behind a glass wall. I can see everyone laughing, connecting, living, but I'm just here, stuck on the other side. I want to reach out, but the thought of being seen, of explaining myself is terrifying. I don't want to burden anyone. I don't want to see the look of pity or confusion in their eyes when I can't find the words to describe this emptiness. So I pull away. It's safer here in the quiet.
Survivors often carry a deep sense of shame, believing they are unworthy of connection. They might avoid social situations to escape questions about their well-being. For example, a survivor might decline an invitation because they fear the inevitable question, "How have you been?" when the honest answers feels too painful to share. But what if I told you that isolation isn't just about avoiding discomfort? It's often about survival. Keep watching, because the reasons might surprise you. Isolation can become a safe space, a barrier to avoid potential harm or manipulation. For someone who has been hurt repeatedly, solitude feels like the only way to stay safe. Imagine escaping a toxic relationship. Even the thought of facing the world can feel dangerous, leading to isolation as a form of self-preservation. Abuse is mentally and emotionally exhausting. The smallest social interaction can feel like climbing a mountain. A simple phone call, coffee date, even replying to a text message, what seems small to others can feel overwhelming to a survivor. But here's where it gets tricky. Mistrust isn't just about protecting themselves from others. Sometimes, survivors even stop trusting their own judgment. Imagine living in a world where every conversation feels like a potential threat. When trust has been broken, survivors may struggle to let anyone in. The mindset becomes, if I don't let anyone close, I won't get hurt again. This is especially true if they've experienced betrayal from those they thought they could trust. What if I told you that for some survivors, isolation isn't just about avoiding others? It's about not knowing who they are without the abuser's influence. When your sense of self has been stolen, even being around friends can feel like being a stranger in your own life. Narcissistic abuse, in particular, can strip away a person's sense of self. Without the narcissist dictating their behavior, survivors may feel lost. They might ask themselves, "Who am I without them?" which makes connecting with others feel nearly impossible. But isolation isn't just a temporary escape. It can turn into a trap with real consequences. If you've ever felt like your world is getting smaller, you might be closer to the edge than you realize. Let's talk about the hidden dangers of isolation and why breaking the cycle is important. Prolonged isolation often leads to a spiral of negative thought. It's like being stuck in an echo chamber where only your fears and insecurities have a voice. Being alone with our thoughts can deepen feelings of worthlessness, as there is no external perspective to challenge the inner critic. Imagine living with a bully that only you can hear, and never being able to walk away. Humans are wired for physical connection. A simple hug, a pat on the back, even a friendly handshake can trigger the release of oxytocin, the feel-good hormone. When abuse survivors isolate themselves, they often experience touch starvation, which can amplify feelings of sadness and contribute to depression. Touch starvation isn't just about physical touch. It's about the comfort and reassurance it brings. Imagine needing a hug but feeling too broken to ask for one. That's the painful paradox of isolation. Here's a real-life story. One man shared anonymously that the most physical touch he'd received in 3 years was during a tattoo session. The simple act of being cared for, washing the skin, the gentle touch, brought a rush of emotions. He left not only with fresh ink but also with a deep ache, realizing how starved he was for human connection. It was a reminder that isolation doesn't just create loneliness, it can make even basic human touch feel foreign and overwhelming. When someone feels starved for connection, even the most toxic relationships can seem like a lifeline. This is where trauma bonds come into play. Trauma bonding is a psychological response to abuse, where the cycles of hurt and comfort create a powerful, addictive attachment. It's why survivors might find themselves drawn back to their abuser, despite knowing the risks. When the world feels empty, even a toxic connection can seem better than none at all. But what if I told you that isolation can turn your safe space into a prison? It's not just mentally, but physically too. Let's talk about the hidden dangers of bed rotting and how it impacts your brain. Bed rotting is more than just spending a lazy day under the covers. It's a state where prolonged periods in bed become a refuge from the world. But it can quickly turn into a cycle of stagnation and mental decline. When you isolate yourself to the point of bed rotting, your brain starts to associate your safe space with avoidance and inactivity. Over time, this can lead to reduced cognitive function, increased feelings of fatigue, and even a deepening of depression. The brain thrives on stimulation, movement, and variety, but when every day looks the same from under the covers, it becomes difficult to break free from the inertia. If you found these insights helpful so far and want more content on healing from abuse, breaking free from isolation, and building a healthier mindset, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your journey matters, and together we can create a safe space for healing and growth. If you've been struggling with isolation, there are small steps you can take to reconnect, not just with others, but with yourself. One powerful approach is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT is a type of therapy that focuses on changing negative thought patterns and behaviors to improve your mental well-being. It's about retraining your brain to see things in a more positive, balanced way. Mindfulness meditation helps ground you in the present moment, reducing anxiety and depressive thoughts. Even a few minutes of focusing on your breath or your senses can create a sense of calm and help you feel more connected to your body and surroundings. When leaving isolation feels overwhelming, break it down into small, manageable steps. Instead of forcing yourself into big social situations, start with tiny goals, like texting a friend or stepping outside for fresh air. Each step forward is a victory. If the thought of meeting a friend feels impossible, start smaller. What if today you just open a chat app? Tomorrow, maybe send a hi. By breaking it down, each step feels less daunting and more achievable. Isolation often amplifies negative self-talk. Combat this by writing down your positive self-statements. If you think, I am worthless, try writing, I am a person with worth and potential. The more you practice, the stronger these new, healthier thoughts will become. You might find it hard to believe at first, but writing I am worthy of love every morning can start to change how you see yourself. It's not about forcing positivity, but gently challenging the negativity. Before bed, take a moment to reflect on the positives, no matter how small. A warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a stranger, or the comfort of a cozy blanket. Writing these down can help rewire your brain to notice and appreciate the good in life. Before bed, try this. Write down 3 good things that happened today, even if it's as small as, I like the sound of the rain. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to notice the good, not just the bad. If you catch yourself defaulting to negativity, practice reframing. For example, if you walk into a room and think, I hate this place, challenge yourself to find 5 things you like about it. This small habit can shift your mindset over time, helping you see the world and yourself in a more positive light. Instead of seeing an empty room as lonely, try to see it as peaceful. It's not about denying your feelings, but finding a new perspective that offers a bit more light. Which of these activities resonates with you? Have you tried any of them before? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story could inspire someone else.